do something on Zoom.
Yeah.
We'll do something.
I know.
I haven't.
But you can always catch it in the morning, right? Yeah. I know.
Been busy?
All right, girls, you ready? We're going to start the meeting, and we'll just let you know. All right, it's a big time. We're gonna let everybody know until we go live to the 16 million people at home.
16 million.
We're setting records. We're a big deal.
We're a big deal.
All right. Well, then let's get the party started. Good evening. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Honorable Councilwoman Carrie Budzinski and our Falcons cheerleader.
I'm just going to have you guys help me out. So, Claire, why don't you get us started?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job.
Take it away. Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, Your Honor.
Honor.
Your Honor.
Your elected honor.
Okay, well, thank you for the floor, Mr. President. So today we have an opportunity to celebrate the recent achievements of our JV Falcon cheerleaders. I had an opportunity to watch these girls all season long because my daughter is on the team and it's full of friends. And, you know, these girls are cheerleaders, but they're also Palmers. And over the course of the last 3 years, they have been amazingly successful as a group. So the Cheer Fest here in Livonia, well, Livonia, Northville, Garden City, it kind of encompasses a lot of municipalities around us. But it's quite an event, and it's quite competitive, and there's a lot of time and effort that goes into the routines. And these girls started working on their POM routine and their cheer routine all the way back in August. And along with the help of their coaches and their junior coaches, they really perfected both their POM and their cheer. We had a lot of Livonia teams that did quite well, but this year was really the year of the Falcons, where our varsity team took a first place, our JV took a first place, and our freshmen took a first place. But what's special about these girls here, like I said, is for the last 3 years, they have finished first in either POM or cheerleading. So we wanted to bring them out to the city council meeting to give them a commendation and to thank their coaches and the parents for supporting them all season long. And it's one of these things where if anybody has any doubt in their mind in regards to cheerleading being a sport, I would ask you to watch their routines, and if you have any questions or doubt afterwards, there might be something completely wrong with you, because it's truly a sport, and it's competitive, and it's edgy, and it's something that we're all really proud of as parents, as a community, and we look forward to next year and what is going to come for all of you all the way through high school, because you're going to do really great things, and you know, really the sky's the limit in terms of the effort that you're making. So we have a commendation here that's signed by myself, my colleagues here on the City Council, and Mayor Brosnan as well. It said, well, it says here, to the Livonia Falcon JV Cheer, on this day, Wednesday, November 6, 2024, you are presented this certificate for winning first place in POM and second in cheer at the 2024 SMIFA Cheer Fest. Marking the third year in a row, the Livonia Falcon JV Cheer Group has received a first place finish at Cheerfest in either POM or cheer, and this is all under the direction of coaches Marcy and Melissa. So girls, give your coaches, coaches here and your coaches, also the junior coaches who put a lot of time and effort into it, give them a round of applause and thank them. And now I'll ask everybody to give the girls a round of applause. So if you want to come on up here, we'll take a picture, and then we'll all come out and walk around and we'll take a quick picture. And I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I haven't slept at all since, it's been like 2 days since I slept. So.
Did you guys just weighted down by all these medals?
We'll turn around that way.
Go ahead. I got you. I got you.
Yeah, however you think is appropriate for the picture.
Oh man, so many things. Yeah.
A lot of people.
Mr. McCullough was a Blue Jay.
Chins up like the girls, smiles, chins up, just like the girls, come on.
Do you want to give us a little routine or something, or not?
Uh-oh.
All right.
I think your parents said you have homework or something, though, so, no. Good to know, Claire. So everybody, the girls are free to leave. You're also welcome to stay if you want to, but thanks a lot for coming out, and listen, we're only like 9 months away from next year, so let's go.
We're going for a first next year.
Well,
we go.
I don't want to cause trouble, but this should have been a first this year. I saw both routines, and I don't know. So you did a wonderful job, and we're proud of you, so keep it up. Thank you.
Councilman Jolly, is this when the Orioles come in now, or?
Well, I think that's, I'm a Falcon. So somebody else is going to have to organize that.
You're a cheer dad.
Just cheer dad to the core,
I
right?
love it. Good job, girls. All right, so now the really fun part of the meeting, right? That's how it always goes. I'd like to point out, just matters for operations of the meeting, that item number 2 on the consent agenda, the site plan for the Walmart project, has been tabled by the petitioner. So we're going to have 1, 3, and 4 to be voted on the consent. With that being said, welcome to our 2004 era of the regular meeting of this Livonia City Council. This is a voting meeting. Minutes of this meeting will be approved at the next regular meeting, scheduled to be held on Monday, November 18th. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Here.
Councilmember Morgan.
Here.
Councilmember Toy.
Here.
Councilmember Jolly.
Present.
Councilmember Donovic.
Here.
President McCullough.
Here. And I will point out, we show 6 members. Vice President Tashnik will be attending. Today is the LPS student conferences, and she will be joining us a little bit later, but she will be here. With that being said, I will now entertain a motion for the minutes from the regular meeting of City Council that was held on October 21st, 2024. Council?
So moved.
Support.
I have motion by Toy, support by Budzinski. Any comments from the audience on the minutes? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye, and the minutes pass, 6-0. I'm going to jump right into audience communication. We've set aside 30 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to comment on something, please make your way up to either podium and name and address. Seeing none? Oh, all right. Mr. Nash, how are you? Go Lions.
Yeah, go Lions.
The floor is yours.
Good evening. You guys are like, oh, it's Bob Nash. What does he want? But it'll be okay. Robert Nash, 16136 Gulfview, from the great city of Livonia, state of Michigan, 48154. Foremost, I'm here tonight just to congratulate my friend Jim Jolly on a victory last night in his race for district court judge. He ran a great campaign, and Jim and I have been friends for a long time. He's we're past co-workers, and I just wanted to say Jim's done a great job the last 20 years as a court officer, as magistrate, and on council the last 10 years, and he's going to be a great judge in the future, so congratulations to Jim Jolly. And that was what I came here mostly to say. Also, I want to congratulate Jim's opponent, Robin Persicone. She ran a great campaign. She's a wonderful person. I don't know her that well, but I know she's a great wife and mother and great attorney. Also, I just want to say briefly, I want to apologize to Robin's husband publicly. We had a misunderstanding yesterday at the polls at Hoover, but we worked it all out, so I just wanted to say that to him. And also, I wanted to briefly just congratulate Judge Kathleen McCann on her upcoming retirement. She did a great job for our city for many, many years, 30 years, I believe. A very compassionate judge, and I just wanted to mention her too as well. If you could let me know when I'm 30 seconds out. Also, congratulations to our new clerk, Lori Miller. She did a great job with the election last night. I know a lot of votes, 62,000, I think, and that's a lot of ballots to count. The votes came in late, but I know when you have that volume of ballots, she did a great job. So congratulations to Clerk Lori Miller and Deputy Clerk Doris DeMarco and Janet Douglas and the staff. Also, in closing, I just wanted to just say, just briefly, I've lived in Livonia for 61 years, and it's just a wonderful city to live in. And it's because a lot of you, the council and past councils, past mayors that have really contributed to making Livonia such a great city in the great state of Michigan. And
30.
Thank you. And just in closing, you know, the great country we live in, the United States of America, we may have a lot of flaws in our country, but it's the greatest country in the world to live in. And I think we all recognize that. I just wanted to mention that. And also a big thank you to our mayor, Mayor Brosnan. She's done a great job, I think, especially in the Vision 21. I appreciate all her hard work in that. And just thank you for the council for giving me an opportunity to speak. And that's about it. Have a great 2 meetings. Thank you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I'm struggling a little, but I'm hanging in there. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. President, if I may respond very quickly. So this is, you know, I'll thank Mr. Nash. Bobby Nash is, in a lot of ways, very much like a big brother to me. I had the opportunity to start off my adult life really as an intern in the 16th District Court and was shepherded by Bobby Nash. And then at some point in time, I got the opportunity to be a court officer where Mr. Nash was my partner and taught me the ropes in regards to being a court officer. And then upon the opportunity to be the magistrate, Mr. Nash and I were together in the magistrate's courtroom for many years. Bobby's a great guy and has gone above and beyond for me in the course of the last 20 years in terms of expressing, you know, what Livonia really was. And I think firsthand I've learned Livonia through the mentorship of Mr. Nash. And you know, it's one of these things where, you know, as he said that, you know, Livonia is a great place because of all of us. It's a great place because of Mr. Nash and people like him who've built this community. And again, to be a leader in the community, you don't need a title, and that's the last thing that is, well, it's the first thing that's apparent and the last thing that's necessary in this community to be a leader, because we have people stepping up all over the place. And Mr. Nash, Bobby, is the epitome of that in regards to what he's done over the years. So I want to thank Bobby in regards to everything that he's done for me personally recently, but also over the course of my adult life, to be honest with you. But I also want to take a second and, hey, listen, we had a new experience this year with early voting. And through the process of early voting, you know, it's democracy at its best. And we had an opportunity, me and my opponent, Ms. Persicone, were working the early voting lines and talking to voter after voter and saying this and that, you know, about our own experiences and kind of convincing people one way or another, successfully or unsuccessfully, for each vote, right? And it was a great experience. I do want to commend Ms. Persicone on the hard-fought campaign, and it's one of these things where it's what democracy is all about. And I congratulate her, and she is a great attorney, and she's a great presence in this community, and, you know, who knows what the future holds, right? So I want to thank everybody for their votes, and we'll have an opportunity to do this later on as well. But, you know, this is, it's a good opportunity to just be thankful for the country that we live in, and I am. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Nash, for everything.
Awesome.
Are we doing comments now?
Well, let me just do this. Do we have any general audience communications for items that are not on the agenda? And before I do that, I see none. I'm going to jump right to council communications. Councilman Toy.
Thank you very much. It goes without saying, I'm going to miss Jim because he's been my seatmate for the last 8 years at least. And you've never met a person that is more involved in the community and their family. Jim leads with his heart, and he is a brain. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy, and he knows how to crack good jokes in times where it gets a little tense. And I really appreciate that about Jim, and I'm going to miss him dearly on this council. He adds so much. And as far as Bob Nash goes, he's just a stand-up quality guy, and his family was so instrumental in building this city. His father was on the city council, and of course our city clerk, as was his wife. And just, you can't ask for better people. Like you said, Jim, we're very lucky, and we're very lucky to have you as our new judge, because Kathleen has done a superior job as well. I've never been sentenced by her, so I can't really speak from experience, but I know that, sir.
Got 2 months and,
A couple months, and I can come and visit you, you're saying?
well, I mean, if you want her to sentence you.
Oh, okay, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, no, I don't want to do that, but thank you for everything everybody's contributed, and it was an interesting election last night. I'm happy for the House of Representatives and the state. I served up there a long time, and those are very interesting races when you go statewide and you have all those kinds of people coming at you. So best to everyone that ran, because it's a challenge anymore. As you said, I'll never have the opportunity to do this new open process. And thank God for Lori and her crew over there that handled a great deal. Never before have they had this many votes, and she can expound on that. But thank you, Jim. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to roast you and toast you later.
I'll go to Councilman Donovic, then Councilman Morgan, then Councilman Budzinski.
Thanks, Council President. I appreciate it. To our clerk, hats off to you and your team yesterday, and to I don't know how many volunteers and just people in the community, residents we have in the community, made that election possible last night. As you all know, there was a rather large election yesterday, and there was a lot of people that came out and voted in Livonia that would be possible if it were not for all the residents that work at our elections and make those possible. So thank you for all the work you do. Thanks to the Nash family. I know when we talk about elections, they've been involved in our community for many, many years, and they've done a lot for our community behind the scenes. And you know, Livonia is what it is because of your guys' family and your efforts. And I wanted to say congrats to our colleague, Councilman Jim Jolly. I'm not going to call you judge yet. But congratulations. I know you worked really hard, and to your opponent worked very hard for this position. And elections are tough. It's not easy. Your families take a toll. You take a toll in running for office. It's not easy, and all the supporters and people that make it all possible. It really is a team effort. It was pretty cool. My dad is an Albanian immigrant, and he voted for the first time yesterday in a presidential election. It was really neat to see that experience. So we talk about elections in our country. You know, it really is the greatest country in the world. We have Veterans Day coming up soon, and Scott Morgan is a veteran along with myself. And you think about this country and how fortunate we are to live in this country. And regardless of your political opinions and whether your candidate wins or loses, it is really an amazing country, because I talked to my father that did not get to vote for his entire life from the country he came from. And he didn't get an opportunity to vote for the person he wanted to represent him. So thanks to those veterans and Veterans Day coming up, and all those Americans that make the election process possible. So, and congrats, Jim. That was my comment. I do have a motion I'd like to refer to our Law Department counsel. This motion, I'd like for the Law Department to amend the ordinance that is particularly regarding big box stores, retailers in our community, that when they build new retail stores or rehab those retail stores, that they have to put shopping cart control devices on their carts.
Support.
There we go.
Mr. President? Yep. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate my counsel indulging me, and thanks to the Law Department and looking into this. As you know, Livonia has a lot of big box retail stores in our community, and even some of them are smaller, whether it be an Aldi's or a Meijer. And if you live next to one of these stores, you may unfortunately have experienced the unsightly picture of an abandoned shopping cart tipped over in the corner of your neighborhood or filled up with trash in the middle of a main road. Abandoned shopping carts have really become not only an eyesore, but a health and safety risk for our community. Too often I've spoken to our residents in our community that live next to some of these large retailers, and even they don't have to live next to them, they could live a mile from them. And I know because I live next to quite a few, and these shopping carts will be in the middle of a main road, and you're driving at nighttime 45 miles an hour, and one of these carts blows in the wind and ends up striking your car. I've heard tons of stories from business owners that are trying to take care of their properties in Livonia, and they have abandoned shopping carts tipped over in front of their business. Now, it may seem kind of trivial, it may seem kind of a silly thing, but unfortunately, if local government doesn't do these things, who will? And people take really good care of their properties in this city, whether it be residential or commercial. And it's our job, from my perspective, that we solve these sorts of issues. And I'll just leave it at this example. Before the Chick-fil-A project, the development at Plymouth and Middlebelt Road, I personally went back with a resident. We counted some 90 abandoned shopping carts piled up in the corner behind the abandoned building at that time. So it is an issue, and I think moving forward as we continue to see big box retailer stores, new developments, and even redevelopments, I think it's important that this council attack this issue before these stores come and are rehabbed, and make sure that we set the tone for our community, that we will not let blighted properties persist in our community. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Councilman Morgan.
Yes, I just wanted to read the October 2024 retirees for the city of Livonia. Nora Brock, 25 years in the clerk's office. She was a clerk typist 2. She retired October 1st, 2024.
Sorry for the intrusion. I just totally spaced out. We do have a motion we have to vote on, and then I'll go right back to you. I forgot that we
Okay.
have that.
Yep.
Councilman Donovan talked, when he was going on his 5th minute, I spaced out. So
It's actually 6.
we do have a motion on the floor. Council, do we have anything further on that item? Audience, do we have any issues or concerns that you'd like to speak about on the item of this motion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovan.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye, and the motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
I will, thank you, Mr. Donovan. Mr. Morgan, sorry for the interruption. The floor is back to you.
Nope, no problem. Just continuing with the October 2024 retirees. We have then Felicia Cross with 27 years, 9 months. She was in the community transit program as the supervisor there, retired on October 1st, 2024. And then we have Scott Miller, 35 years, 5 months, wow. Planner, 5 in the planning department, retired October 11th, 2024. I'd like to thank all those retirees and previous employees. Thank you for your service in the city of Livonia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Morgan. Councilwoman Budzinski.
Yes. So I'll just, share my congratulations to my colleague, Jim. You will be very missed on council, but we're happy that you're not going far. And thank you to Clerk Miller and her team for running an election. As Councilman Donovan said, it's not easy to run for office. It's a challenge, it's a team effort, but it's really important. And so I just encourage anyone who has interest, anyone can do it. Just look at us here. But with that in mind, the mention of Veterans Day, I wanted to let folks know that we do in Livonia have the Livonia Veterans Connection, which is a group of local veterans led by resident Steve Alexander. They meet monthly at different locations across the city to just have camaraderie and connect. So if you are a veteran, 1, thank you for your service, but 2, consider checking them out. I know they have a Facebook page. Additionally, I have my final in-person coffee hour of the year on Saturday, November 16th at the Civic Center Library at 11 o'clock. It is open to anyone. I'll just be doing a review of all the things that have happened in council this year, and kind of give a preview look of what's going on in the future. As always, you can come with your questions, and happy to answer them. Also provide Looney Baker donuts and some coffee. So hope to see you there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Toy.
To Council Bazinski's point, that the veterans, the church, the Presbyterian Church, I'm trying to remember, the one that is
Rosedale.
on, thank you, on Hubbard Road there, they're having a memorial service for veterans at 10:30 this Sunday. So they started that sometime back, the pastors over there. So I've never been, but I've heard it's very well done and very well attended. So just so the viewing public knows, and all of us, obviously. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Yes. All right, so I'll start off with some, I just wanted to note that we do have new data on items 5A, 5B, and 8. Again, I want to just touch base. You know, I know we're up here giving kudos and thanks and everything. Clerk Miller and her team, I mean, putting it in perspective, the amount of the heavy lift. I get to work behind the dais, or, you know, in a municipality and see the operations and many things. And I could tell you that this election was nothing like anything that has been ever happened in theory, right? There's curveballs, there's new things, and a lot of things that go into the election is process and creating it and learning and fixing things and getting through that kind of a heavy lift. I'm not going to steal analytics because obviously if you want to touch base and give a little bit of an update, but huge kudos to your entire team. Please share the sentiments of council and the entire city. I'm sure I could speak for everybody to say well done. This is, I mean, just watching it, you know, I always kind of laugh that when, as elected officials, when it's the off years, we can kind of sit back and go, gosh, I'm glad I didn't have to do it this year. And everybody that's involved, I think, could say the same thing, but it went very well. And again, the democracy in our nation, just seeing the balance of power shift and move. While everybody's not happy in certain senses, it is democracy, and that's what makes our country the place that it is. To get mushy on Councilman Jolly or Judge Jolly, I've known Jim now for going on 6+ years, and I could tell you that, you know, the minute you meet this guy and you learn his legal background, sometimes it can be annoying because he knows so much. I could tell you from my perspective, losing my parliamentary, I mean, Carter, we're in trouble right now because we're probably going to have a lot of legal fees we're going to need to pay because I'll keep messing some stuff up. But no, honestly, for our city and the integrity, and again, the opponent with Miss Persicone, I mean, that was one heck of a race to finish within how close that it did. But you know, congratulations. This has been something that I think Councilman Jolly has been wanting since, you know, he was born in theory. He was born to be in this position, and I'm so fortunate to be somewhat a part of the journey and watch you go into this role. I hope I don't have to ever be in front of you on the bench. But we wish you the best, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And then I think there was one other thing that I just wanted to touch base on, and that is a fun thing. I even put it on my Facebook page as a palate cleanser. If anybody's looking for something fun to do, I'm on loan subbing for it's the Living and Learning Enrichment Center out of Northville, and it's a charity hockey game, again, against the Red Wings alumni. We are contractually obligated to lose. We will have our Livonia game, but this one is Sunday. It's at USA Arena. Tickets are $25. All proceeds benefit the Living and Learning Enrichment Center, which if you haven't learned about them, they're a wonderful organization. Specialized, I actually think they have a small outpost out of our rec center as well. And they do great things in the community. And if you want to watch some entertainment and watch me get destroyed by the Red Wings, it's always a fun time. So mark your calendars for that. And other than that, we're going to jump right in to our consent agenda. Or actually, I'm going to jump into reports by mayor and other city officials. Clerk Miller, would you like to just give I mean, I'm sure if you need some Red Bull, we have some. But if you'd like to, you know, the floor is yours if you'd like to share some words.
Sure. Thank you all for your support. Yesterday was a huge lift, and it was a team effort. So I cannot thank anyone as much as I should, obviously, and I will forget a few departments, but our team worked tirelessly for the last 13, 14 days straight without time off. That's incredible. We had over 9,804 residents used our early voting site in a 9-day period. So that's averaging close to 1,100 people in an 8-hour period coming through to vote. It was phenomenal. We issued over 31,000 absentee ballots, and we had a 97% return rate at 29,149 coming back. So we did things differently this time. We did want to make it a fun day, so we partnered with a DJ at the Polls organization who provided a free DJ at Emerson Middle School. We wanted this to be a fun experience. We know that tensions were high this year, so we thought we'd try to put a different spin on it. And to Councilman Donovick's point, we had people in here all day yesterday, first-time citizens bringing in their citizenships paper and registering to vote, and that was just unbelievable. The joy in their face to be able to come here to register to vote and to be able to participate in our democracy was incredible. Our department worked tirelessly, as I said, but we went above and beyond. Each one of them went way above and beyond expectations. We delivered ballots to the Veterans Hospital in Detroit. We've delivered hospital visits to Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital and then also U of M. And each one of our staff stepped up with a smile. The long days were intense, and they did it with a smile on their face and great customer service. We had the departments all throughout the city helping us, and our police department, our mayor's office, and everyone on this council. So it is a team effort. We had over 40 students volunteer yesterday in my department for community service. I'm sorry, I've had 2 hours sleep. Community service hours. So the help of those students, I put out an APB to the school district. The superintendent sent me students all day long yesterday. We could have never got it completed without all of their help. So it's a community effort, it's a team effort, and I want to thank everyone who helped us. Thank you.
Great work. And while we're still under reports from the mayor and other city officials, I did forget one thing, and you can yell at me if you're not, but I'm going to proceed with it. November 4th, serious item. We did celebrate one of our colleagues' birthdays, and it's Councilwoman Budzinski. And I would say here we would use this as a karaoke to sing happy birthday, but we won't embarrass you. We hope it was an awesome day, and happy birthday.
Thank you. It was a good
All right. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Items 1, 3, and 4, again, we're removing 2 at the petitioner's request. On the consent agenda will be voted on as one item. These items were previously discussed at the study meeting that took place on October 21st and determined to be non-controversial. Council, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Good there. Do I have any comments from council? Any comments from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye. Councilmember
Jolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovick.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And then the consent passes 6-0. I'm going to move on to now unfinished business, which starts off with meetings of the committee. Item number 5 is we have 2 items that we had committee of the whole that met on October 16th on site at Sheldon Park. Item A is the subject matter of the Noble Library and Sheldon Park issues, CR 116-24. And item B is the subject matter of the custodial services at the Jackie E. Kirksey Recreation Center. Since my note-taking is brutal, I'm just going to kind of touch base and give you some highlights. The committee did meet at 6 p.m. We had all members of council. We also had the mayor in attendance, along with the Parks and Rec director, Mr. Davis. I gave an overview of the item. All council members did give insight, and we did have 15 members of the audience gave feedback and ideas on what they'd like to see at Sheldon/Noble. We did have over 75 people in attendance, and for what it's worth, it was a very good meeting, kind of interesting to have something on site at a park. But thanks to that little microphone that was from those Amazon return stores, it worked very well. But it was just kind of a unique thing to take city government into our parks. And so it was a very collaborative approach. We learned some things. We shared some information. This item is to remain in committee. And that is it there. Colleagues, if you'd like to
Mr.
talk
Chair.
about this, yes. Councilman Toy?
I just want to give kudos to you and whoever for thinking about it. It was a real nice experience, and I've been on this
Councilman Jolly.
council. Jim Jolly, thank you very much. That's why we're going to miss you. That's a big reason. But anyhow, in all seriousness, it was really, really a nice experience. I've been on this council off and on many years, and taking it to the folks was really special. And you playing Oprah Winfrey inside that audience was just breathtaking.
I was going for Geraldo.
Yeah,
Rivera,
Geraldo,
but
sorry, I didn't
it was
mean to
fine. No, that's
do
still,
that to you, but
that's
yeah.
a really nice thing to
But no,
say.
you did a great job, and all of us, kudos, because it was a little chilly out there.
was.
But
We watched
I
the
think the
sunset.
people enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You got to see the we didn't get to go in the building, so to speak, but we certainly saw the grounds and
Yeah.
things like that, and it became a lot more real for
It was the
those
first
of
time we
us.
ever had to check a weather forecast for a council meeting, so it was
Correct.
unique.
Yeah.
Wear sunglasses.
But
And
thank
wear
you, Mr. Chair.
sunglasses.
Very
Yes.
nice, very nice.
Anything else from council? All right, so that item will remain in committee. Item number 2 is the subject matter of custodial service at the Jackie Kirksey Recreation Center. This item was introduced at 6:58, and we had a motion by 7:02. We kind of put Mr. Davis on the spot because there were so many people that were leaving, and we kind of all hunkered down around a picnic table, discussed it. Thanks to the background information, we kind of knew what we were looking at. Councilwoman Toy did offer an approving motion of the contract that was presented, and the meeting adjourned overall at 7:03. The committee does recommend approval of the contracted custodial service for after-hours service at the Recreation Center. And depending on this will be out of committee. Council, do I have direction on this item?
So moved.
Support.
We have support from Donovic. Anybody like to speak on this? Councilman Donovic?
Thank you, Mr. President. As some may know, that this issue's been kind of ongoing for a while now. I know there was a lot of discussions between our local union and our superintendent of Parks and Recreation. Ultimately, that both parties determined that this would be a need for our community to make sure that our buildings are clean, or some of these specific buildings are clean after hours. I know that, again, Parks and Rec and the union worked closely on this item, and I'm comfortable with supporting it, and I think it's a good thing for our community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Donovic. Councilwoman Budzinski?
Yes. So when this initially was brought up, I had concerns about taking away responsibilities from our Department of Public Works and using a private service for this, although I appreciate our Director of Park and Rec's commitment to quality service and facility for our residents and users of the rec center. Obviously, they're paying for an experience. We want to make sure that it's the best one that they can have. So this was given a lot of discussion, including with our workers, and determined to be the best course of action, which I support. However, I still think it is important that we're just really mindful of the fact that we're doing everything that we can to attract employees who can work and provide services to our city, and not having to go outside, because when you use outside vendors, costs go up, you lose control over what services are being provided, and I do have big picture concerns about that. However, I am supportive of the motion before us today.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And the item carries 6-0. We're going to move on to item number 6. Is a roll call. It's a proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended from the Department of Law to add section 155 to Title III, Chapter 4, Financial Procedures. A first reading was given by Councilmember Rob Donovic on October 21st, 2024. Councilman Donovic?
Mr. President, I'd like to offer an approving.
Support for sake of discussion. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've discussed this multiple times now. This essentially would be amending our ordinance, our procurement ordinance, specifically for the City Hall, City Campus project. Typically speaking, department heads, any expenditure, any tax dollars they spend over $20,000 has to come before city council for deliberation. What the administration is asking the council to do is give them the authority to approve a waiver, essentially, to waive that requirement and increase it to $100,000. And I've been supportive of this measure because we will still be receiving all of the documentation reports for any expenditures that would happen. And this is only for the city center campus. And this is going to allow the administration to act quickly in implementing this new project and putting together actually the best possible deals. This is a rather large project. It's going to happen pretty quick. And with that being said, I think it's important that we give the administration that flexibility to be able to act quickly. And with change orders, things are going to happen fast. And it'd be nice to see if we can save some tax dollars on a rather large project. There is a provision in this that this will stop and have to come back before reconsideration from council at a later date, one. And two, the biggest thing to me is we continue to look at this. We will continue getting reports, and we'll continue to provide oversight. Any expenditure over $100,000, which there'll be a lot of those, council will still have to deliberate and vote on. But ultimately, if something were to happen and council wasn't happy, by a simple vote, we can rescind this waiver. So I'm okay with it. I think we're going to save money, save taxpayer dollars, be able to act quickly, and really government moves so slow and it's so difficult to get things done, which is important. We want to make sure that we are keeping an eye on the taxpayers' dollars and making sure that there is that needed oversight. But at the same time, we have really intelligent department heads and administration, and this is a very specific, finite thing, and I think it's okay. I would not be in favor of increasing this threshold for traditional, everyday operational expenditures, but for this specific thing and this dollar amount, I'm okay with it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Anything else from council?
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Toy.
Mr. Chair, you know, I supported this when it first came before us, and then I gave it a lot of thought and talked to a lot of people. I've got a few issues with it, particularly because we have another entity handling it as well. And we pay that other entity big money to navigate and be the traffic cop for a lot of the what's going on. And while I favor and you know, fully support our efforts, I still feel that this council should have control over dollars. That is our primary function in this city, and I would feel more comfortable keeping it the way it is. And if they want to come back maybe with a lesser amount even, or something like that, maybe I'd be open to that. But tonight, I'm not feeling real confident about this. And not that I question any of our department heads or people that work here, but we also have added another layer. Once again, we have consultants, and I think they need to do their job as well. So I know this may make it easier for them in the long run, but if we have to, we can call an emergency meeting of the council, and that's been done on other times since I've been here in the many years. So I'm having a problem voting on this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Councilwoman Budzinski.
Yes. So I spoke on this when it was first brought up and mentioned my concerns about council relinquishing its responsibilities, which is for financial oversight of the budget and spending. And while I appreciate everything that Councilman pointed out in his summary of why this is being presented, and I have no questions about the integrity of how this ordinance would be used, I don't feel comfortable with it. I think it's council's role to oversee budget items over a certain amount, and that this is simply too high and unnecessary. We are doing a big project right now with the Senior Wellness Center. Items are not being brought to us regularly for change orders or spending. I think we're going into a project. The new City Hall hasn't even started. None of the projects on the Civic Center campus have. So our staff, consultants, and others working on this project will know well in advance that they have to come to council. As was just noted, we do have, X items, we have ways to deal with things quickly when necessary, which I'll be on board for. I'm not trying to slow down this project. I think it is good and positive for Livonia, but I just don't feel comfortable with this ordinance.
Thank you, Councilman Budzinski. Councilman Donovan.
I just want to reiterate, I don't think that we are relinquishing our fiduciary responsibility for financial oversight. We are still getting all of the documentation from the administration for any of these expenditures that happens. This really, changes are going to happen in the moment. And rather, when you go through city council, it takes weeks, if not months, to go through the process. And as it should, I'm okay with that. For typical operational things that happen on a day-to-day basis through this city council, through this city hall. But this is a fluid project that is going to be happening quickly, and it's a large project. And if we can save taxpayer dollars, we can figure out ways to trim fat. I'm okay with that. Yes, we have hired a consultant, Plant Moran, but they're just working on finding us outside contractors. They're working on providing oversight to the city for the vendors out in the public. They're making sure that we're getting the best people to come into the city because it's such a large project. We don't have the bandwidth internally. And while our department heads are very good at what they do, they don't know the developers out in the public. They don't know all the vendors. So we hire Plant Moran Real Point to go out there to the community, find these partners in the public that will give us the best deal. Now, I think it's important for us as a council to give that administration some flexibility there to make those quick decisions and to be able to get the best deal possible. This is not uncommon. A lot of communities, our county partner does the same exact thing at a much larger threshold. I'm not okay with any more than this. There's a lot of background information as to why the administration came up with the $100,000 mark. It was a realistic figure for them to be able to operate in the public market space. So I think we're still getting all of the appropriate documentation, and it's incumbent upon us to look at it and read it. I just think it's a really good thing for the city and for this project's success. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Councilman Morgan.
Yeah, this number is not, I don't think it's too high. I think this is a reasonable number for a project that of this size. Every single thing that the city is doing, for instance, ordering toilets or sinks or plumbing or tile or, light bulbs and things like that. That stuff, can accumulate, and, you may have a $25,000 bill or something that needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be taken care of immediately. And I think that's why we put these people in place, because they are trusted, and, we have the DPW director, we have the Plant Moran Cressa that has been hired to oversee this. There's a lot of checks and balances, and I don't think a $100,000 cap is unreasonable at this point, especially when we're getting a report on all of this indicating what it's being spent on. So I think even though it seems like a high number, in reality, I don't believe it is. And I think this is something that the council members should maybe reconsider, considering we are going to have oversight anyways, and we can pull this at any time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Morgan. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? Seeing none. Debbie, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I did just want to clarify a few things that will be different and unique about this project that we are specifically designing this change for. Because of the size of the project, we will be using a project management software called eBuilder, which will have all of the council members will have full access to that, which will have up-to-the-date financial information on the budget for the project, spending that's incurred, any costs that are encumbered. It will have also a dashboard feature, so there will be much more transparency that goes along with this project than we have currently had for any project to date. To the issue of the Plant Moran Real Point consultants, it was mentioned here, but I just want to punctuate, They do not have any authority to act on behalf of the city in terms of obligating the city or approving invoices or other things. That control still remains with us. They guide us, they give us their insight, they assist with processes, but ultimately all of that responsibility does remain with the city. And the other item I wanted to just reiterate, the changes that are proposed do not in any way change the process that we must go through in terms of seeking qualified bids, following cooperative pricing, those types of things remain fully in effect. So the goal of this is truly to make sure that the project is staying on course, on time, and on budget. So I just wanted to offer that clarification to you.
Thank you. I'll go to the Vice President, then I'll go to Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Surprise, I'm here. Anyway, thank you for indulging me. So I just want to make sure, that it's understood that these are going to be few and far between, these types of expenses that we're talking about. And oftentimes we hear from residents about how inefficient government is. And I think what we're trying to do here is create a little efficiency for once. And, I don't think this is going to be a big problem. We're still going to have oversight on the finances. We're going to be very transparent about it. And honestly, if it becomes a problem in our view, we can rescind it at any time. And we've capped the date at December 2027. So I will be in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Donovan.
To our Finance Director, you mind a few questions? Thank you for being here, Ms. Lichtenberg. You mentioned that software that council will have access to for oversight. I thought I remembered that this software with Plant Moran and whoever our vendors are going to be at the time, isn't this going to be accessible to the residents as well? If they wanted to go online, they can see expenditures and kind of track the dollars and cents?
Yes, there will be dashboarding that obviously, there are different levels of access, but it is our goal for this to be a very, very transparent project and to have that financial information available, as you said, not just for council, but for the residents to see as well.
Good. I'm happy to hear that because, it's important. Some residents may not care, but for the residents do care, that want to see where their tax dollars are being spent on a project, I think it's really important that we come up with a kind of easy software system, something online that people can go in and when they're, just want to do some reading and look where their dollars and cents go. I think it's awesome to have that kind of like interactive software system. And then on top of that, you mentioned Plant Moran Real Point. They're not acting on our behalf. They're just consulting us and making sure that we have all the information that we as a administration, city council get to make the best decision for what we believe, right?
Correct. Our contract with them did not transfer our authority to them. Mm-hmm. It brought them on board as partners to help guide us in this project.
And last question, you mentioned kind of the procurement process and the procedures. We still have all those procedures. We still have a finance person that goes through all the contracts, vets all of the vendors, making sure that we're still following our ordinance, because it's a high threshold. You can't just, Rob in his pickup truck can't just show up and start building City Hall. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a very specific and detailed process, and you have to be a very vetted contractor. It doesn't mean they don't make mistakes and whatnot from time to time, but we're not waiving any of those traditional processes.
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Budzinski.
So it's been brought up that this would be used infrequently, which is part of my reason for feeling it's unnecessary if it's not going to be used frequently. But could you provide some examples of how this would be used and why it would be urgent and require an ordinance?
So I'm not a contractor. I've not constructed large buildings, but I have been involved. Sometimes you'll get started, they'll have the bulldozers start digging and discover something that they weren't expecting. And an action needs to be taken at that moment to remedy the situation. Perhaps, there was something underground that they didn't realize was there. If we went through our traditional process, it would take potentially, you know, in a best-case scenario, a week if it was in line with council's meeting schedule. If it were to go through the study and regular process, it can take up to 6 weeks. Really, what I envision is those times when those unexpected costs come up, when there's change orders that need to be acted on quickly to keep the project moving. Those are the types of things that I would expect to need to invoke this. If it is something where the normal course of our typical approval schedule won't delay anything, won't hold anything up, we'll continue to follow that. But this gives us internally and with our contractors, nobody wants to pull contractors off when they're mobilized and they're in the field if there's something that can be corrected quickly and effectively and efficiently. So really that is how I see the intent of this change to be.
A follow-up question, just, because I feel like if you're digging and you find something, it might be more than a $100,000 fix. But I also know in other instances that council has approved a budget up to a certain dollar amount. And so why is that not being presented as an alternative way if this is going to be an infrequent concern or used on smaller scales, like that we wouldn't just perhaps present these items initially at maybe a higher point than we expect, but that we could cover if it went up that high?
If I could just interject here and maybe shed some light and some context here. So certainly, and this ordinance actually does sort of contemplate that idea of having contingency where needed, where council could approve a contingency amount for the administration's use as needed. Again, that would be only done on a resolution by resolution basis by council, but there would be items potentially where a contingency wouldn't apply. So for instance, in a scenario where we found an environmental condition, if our current contractor could handle the environmental condition as a change order, then maybe a contingency could cover that change order, although contingencies typically are not used to cover what we would traditionally consider change orders. They're usually two separate categories, but potentially we could do that. But in that instance, our contractor that we have on board might not be able to handle that environmental issue immediately. We might have to go out to, say, an SME or another contractor immediately to remediate whatever condition we found on site. So if we find tanks underground that contain oil or some other substance, our traditional contractor who's building the building might not be qualified per Eagle to remediate that condition. We might have to, in order to move progress along with our current contract, go and find a separate contractor who's qualified to handle environmental issues of that type. So there are items that will transpire almost certainly on a project of this size where we might have to go in contract with a third party in addition to the ones we already have under contract. So this applies to change orders and the eventuality where we need to move quickly, be flexible, and find someone else to come in and sort of rescue admittedly small items if they're under $100,000, but that's part of the goal.
You have more?
No, we can go to Laura.
Councilman Toy?
Thank you. And this is part of the hiccups that I'm having on this very issue. Because, shouldn't we somewhat know some of that before we get into it? We really should. I mean, you've got an extra set of layer of government here called Plant Moran that is looking at stuff. And then we're going to possibly get into a third party. When you get into environmental stuff, that's real pricey. So, how much is all this really going to cost the city? I want to keep my eyes and ears on this project. This has been a project that we've talked about for years, since McNamara times. And when I started looking at and what it's going to encapsulate and other things that we have been doing, I have some grave concerns. So if we need to discuss this more and get into it, then I would even offer a committee of the whole on it again, and let's hash it out. But if we're gonna vote on it tonight, so be it.
Is that a motion?
I wasn't gonna make it a motion. I'm trying to think through and listen to my colleagues, and I appreciate the dialogue going on, but this should have gone on before. This came to us. I didn't realize we were gonna tackle it tonight. I apologize. And I had a chance to look at the agenda. I don't mean that I haven't. But I was a little taken back that we're going on this, you know, tonight, and we have some other questions. At least I do. And I don't want to, I mean, we've got an agenda, we've got a time on another meeting at 8 o'clock. So, I mean, if we need to, there's no harm done. But go ahead. I'm sorry, colleagues. Go ahead.
Councilman Donovan.
I mean, I respect my colleagues, but we've had multiple committee meetings on this already. And it was no surprise that this was being discussed because we offered a first read at the previous meeting, and we've already had committee meetings, and the administration has sent us a ton of information. I'll be the first one to check the administration when I think they're out of line. I actually enjoy it, to be frank with you. With that being said, they're doing a good job on this, and I don't see anything out of the bounds here. There's been so many meetings and so much transparency, and I mean, there's been a lot of negotiation actually on this. I've spent countless hours with our city attorney moving things around and trying to make sure that, you know, this was the best possible thing for the council and the community. So, I mean, I'm not going to fight in a substitute motion if there is one, but I just think there's been a ton of information. And, you know, naturally, I want to get this moving. We have things going on in the community. I want to get this project going. Government takes so long to do everything. And I'm all for transparency. We must be transparent, and we must oversee the dollars and cents of our residents. But we're doing a really good job of it right now. We have the lowest taxes in Wayne County as a city. We look at every single penny spent. We grill our finance director, and that's why you get paid the big bucks, and you're going to continue to get grilled, as you should. So I just think we're doing a good job with this, and I just want to see it move forward. But if there's a substitute motion, I'm not going to stand in the way of it, but someone offer it. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilman Jolly.
Debbie, do we have a past history of doing something similar to this when we've built buildings in the city of Livonia? Like with the DPW building or the courthouse?
We haven't done anything specific in this way. However, one other provision that does occur is the emergency provision. So if we had a water main break that occurred and we had to go out and secure materials and additional equipment to repair that in the middle of the night, we have the administrative authority to do that in order to continue to provide services to the city. So it is not a case where absolutely no service is obligated if it is over $20,000. But that provision exists within the existing ordinance. What we're trying to do here is to collaborate with council on reasonable expectations of what might come with this project. And we don't want to hide behind an emergency provision. We want to all be in agreement up front where that flexibility lies. And Carter was absolutely correct in terms of we do build in contingencies. So our hope is that we don't have change orders and we don't have additional costs that come up. But the reality is, for anybody that's been involved in a construction project, there will be change orders, there will be unexpected things that come up. And we are just looking for an understanding before we go down the road of how we're going to handle those things. So that is really the intent of this change. And I think that it provides a framework and really just an understanding of how we will proceed as partners in this project.
Thank you.
Can I ask one follow-up? You may. Not to you, Debbie, but Carter, so you're a great attorney, but you came with a portfolio of experience doing projects of this nature with Wayne County. and it sounded to me like Wayne County has a similar provision. In your experience, I'm not gonna ask you details in regards to specifics, but in your experience, was this something that, was the mechanism that we've built in sufficient to keep guard against reckless spending and things of that nature?
It absolutely was. The primary project that we used something like this for was the new jail. That's a bit bigger in terms of dollar value than what we're talking about here. That was a almost $600 million project, and we kept change orders to around $2 to $3 million over the course of that project using a similar mechanism to this. I think most people that have worked on projects of that size would tell you $2 to $3 million in a $600 million project is pennies on the dollar, and it's a very strong record in terms of change orders. So I think, given what we're talking about here, we would hopefully expect even less in change orders, but certainly that process helped us in controlling costs and also being very transparent.
Okay. And then the last question for Debbie, in terms of reporting back to council of these situations arising and being, taken care of utilizing this mechanism, how quickly would council expect to be receiving communication or notice of the events happening and also the details of that event? Are we talking, because I think that makes a difference here, whether are we talking within a week, or are we talking a month later? Can you provide some guidance
So
there?
we currently have a process in place where any purchases that fall between the $15,000 and $20,000 range get reported on a regular basis to council. So at a minimum, we would follow that same process, which would mean whenever this occurs, you would receive a report on it at the next available council meeting. But certainly, I would have no problem providing that to you as, an informational email blast when it does occur or when we need to invoke it. And again, it will be available and it will be reported in the e-builder system as soon as that's incurred. So it will be a very quick reporting to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think with that, so I understand the magnitude of what our plans are and the scope of what we're trying to accomplish here on this municipal campus site. With that being said, I think that I would be in favor of this so long as instances of this happening were reported back to the council, I would say within 2 weeks. And I think that would be appropriate. That would give council enough time to react, to take steps that were necessary if we thought something was out of bounds or something was running afoul of our understanding going into this of what it would be used for, if that makes sense. And Carter, I'm not sure if we could add that language in it during a second reading or not. I think we can.
We can.
Okay, so I would request that we add the 2-week provision in there. Thank you.
All right, Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually concur with what Mr. Jolly was just saying, and I'm wondering, do we need to stipulate how we'll receive that information? I don't know if it would matter or not.
I'm not going to be here.
I know. But I mean, I would find an email sufficient if that's okay. So I actually wanted to go back to Mr. Fisher's comment from a couple minutes ago where you were talking about we find something that we didn't know was going to be there, a tank or whatever, and we have to go to a third party. I guess my concerns, and I know Mr. Donovic said he was the first one to be watching what was going on. I challenged him that I might be a close second, but...
It's because you're a math teacher.
But anyway, my concerns are if something like that occurs, and now we're going to delay the project at least a month if we have to wait around to go get this on an agenda, get this passed, get the, all the steps that we have to take. And that is really why I'm in favor of this ordinance, because we need to find a way to cut the red tape on a project like this, where we know that you're going to be transparent, that we've got the software in place. And frankly, as we've all said, if we find that it's being abused or it's not being the way it was intended, I will be the first one to put a motion through to rescind the ordinance. I mean, and I'm sure there will be plenty of my colleagues willing to back that. So That's why I'm comfortable, because I don't think it would ever come to that, but we know that we can do that. So as we're worried about what's going to happen, how about we move forward with progress here, and if we need to step back, then we'll take the steps necessary at that point. And that's going to be my position on it, but let's cut the red tape and get this done. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Toy.
I appreciate the discussion, and that's exactly why I was pausing and having issues. I like some of the adages that have been added to this. I think it clarifies some things for me. I also think that if I'm still here next year, which I should be, if, as we talk about red tape, if we need to do any kind of different processes on this council, I would beg you and the administration to come to us and say, these are the kinds of special things that we're running into in this day and age, and if you could please help us with that to expedite things a little bit more quicker, I don't think any of us would have a problem on this council. Because the last thing I want to do is put extra work on people that are already busy in our city. And so I appreciate all the discussion. I appreciate my colleague, Mr. Rob over there, who's attended a lot of these meetings and has really, seen the bigger picture of this. And I didn't want to put any clogs in this, except I really had some concerns, and concerns were brought up to me as well. So if we can move forward on it, and we have all these assurances of 2 weeks, and the police chief usually gives us reports on terrible accidents and things that happen in our community, fortunately or unfortunately, that helps us to understand things a little bit clearer. Because I have great respect. When I worked here full-time, it's a lot different city hall than when you work here part-time. So I appreciate your patience as well, our finance director and our city attorney. Thank you.
I appreciate your input too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Budzinski.
Yeah. I just want to be clear on my personal position on this one, and it is simply that, even with the examples that we've been given, I feel like those would cost more than $100,000, and I personally just don't feel comfortable creating a new ordinance for something that I don't fully understand, and that might be from being new to this, not having building experience, and so I'm still going to vote no because it's just what my conscience tells me to do, but it is not because I think that this is inappropriate in any way or that I disagree with my colleagues are saying. I just am doing what I feel most comfortable with on this vote.
All right, thank you, Council. I'm going to go to the audience. Audience, have any communication on this item before we go to the vote for the second read for the roll call? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
No.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
No. And the motion does carry 5-2. We are going to move on to item number 7 is, and this is,
You're out of here.
Rob, are you recusing?
Mr. President, I'd like to recuse myself from this item for a professional work conflict.
Thank you, sir. Item number 7 is a request to waive the sidewalk requirement. This comes to us from Fortessa Homes for newly constructed homes at 20533, 20555, 20577, and 20599 Angling. Council.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Morgan, support by Toy. Council, do we have any discussion? Seeing none. Audience, do we have any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye, and the motion carries 6-0. And we will jump right back to item number 8. Here comes Mr. Donovic. Item number 8 is a waiver petition from the Planning Commission, and this is in reference to petition 2024-09-02-01-014 submitted by the Learning Tree, requesting waiver use approval to operate a daycare nursery at 37400 7 Mile Road. Council, do I have direction?
I'll offer an approving for sake of discussion.
Got an approving from Donovic. Do we
Support.
support? Would you like the floor, Councilman Donovic? Or is there any discussion on it?
I'll allow the petitioner to give us some updated information.
Sounds great.
So there's,
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address again, and then let us know, I know we've got some new data on it. If you could share that.
Yeah, my name is Karen Ballard, 8183 McFadden in Salem.
I'm Scott Peruski with PEA Group, coming out of Brighton.
We submitted new plans based on the discussion at the study session. We, based on the feedback that we got, we moved the playground from the west side of the building to the rear of the building.
Mr. Chair.
Perfect. I'll go to Councilwoman Toy, then Councilman Donovic.
You know, to the petitioners,
Yeah.
I'm glad you did this because it makes a whole lot more sense. It adds safety to the site as well. Appreciate your indulgence on this very much. Thank you.
Councilman Donovic?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. Thank you to petitioner. This is a huge improvement, and I'm really excited for this corner now. The kids are going to be safe towards the grassier area. I understand that you guys don't want to touch that necessarily right now, and that parking lot being up next to the road it's much more common as opposed to a playground. I think it's going to be a huge improvement, and looking forward to you guys joining our community. Thanks for choosing Livonia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, anything else? We do have an approving with support. I'm going to go to the audience. Audience, have any input on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Bazinski,
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And the motion carries 7-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to move on to item number 9 as a waiver petition. Comes to us from the Planning Commission in reference to petition 2024-09-02-15 submitted by K. Romaya Food Service LLC on behalf of Papa Romano's, requesting waiver use approval to operate a full-service restaurant with an on-premise Class C liquor license, sale of beer, wine, and spirits, and off-premise SDM liquor license at 36127 and 36131 Plymouth Road. Council,
Approving.
do we have support?
I'll second that.
Oh, no.
We have an approving from Toy, support from Jolly. Council, do we have any discussion on this matter? Seeing none. Audience, do we have any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Bazinski,
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And the item carries 7-0. We're going to jump right into new business. Item number 10 is a request to schedule a closed committee of a whole meeting. This comes to us from the Office of the Mayor for the purpose of discussing the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement. Council.
Mr. President, I'll offer an approving motion to get us started.
Support.
The floor is yours, Mr. Fisher.
Sorry, I just wanted to go back. I think we had
Oh, sorry.
additional resolutions on the previous item. There's resolutions B and C in addition to resolution A.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay. So let's go back to that. Can we package A, B, and C if council, or we have to do one at a time?
No, B and C require a 5-2 vote.
Okay. So it'd probably be best to start over on that.
No, I think we.
You've done A.
So we've done A. All
Yes.
right. So council looking for a motion on item.
Item B, yes.
Support.
All right. Any discussion on item B? Seeing none, anything from the audience on item B? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Bazinski,
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly,
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik,
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic,
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And B passes 7-0.
Mr. President, I'd like
Yes.
to offer an approving for resolution C.
Yes.
Support.
Support. Any discussion, council? Any comments from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote on C?
Councilmember Bazinski,
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Toy,
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And C carries 7-0. Now, we're good to move on to item number 10, which is a request to schedule a closed committee of the whole meeting. This comes to us from the Office of the Mayor for the purpose of discussing negotiations of the collective bargaining agreement. Council.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Support. Discussion? Any audience discussion? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And that carries 7-0, item number 10. Moving on to item number 11 is a request to amend the contract with Hubble Roth and Clark Incorporated for design engineering services for the Newburgh Road sidewalk extension from Pembroke Avenue to Joshua Simmons Drive. Comes to us from the engineering division. Council, do I have direction?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Support.
We have support from Toy. Mr. Zelinsik, is this you?
Yes.
You want to give us a little background?
Sure, as you know, we have a non-motorized path, bike walk. We're trying to improve the connectivity in our city, especially on Newburgh Road from Joshua Simmons Drive south to Pembroke. As you also know, you recently approved 9 houses on the east side of Newburgh Road, which will have sidewalk and will connect up into the north end of that location there. So again, we'll finally have some connectivity in that corridor, long overdue. And again, with the Greenmead property undergoing new developments in the future with Ted Davis, the Parks and Rec Director, we're hoping, again, it gets people there, activities there, and as a opportunity for people and pedestrians to utilize that corridor.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Zelinsik. Councilman Jolly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations, Mr. Zelinsik. This is a good project that is welcomed by anybody. And we have this great site in Greenmead that is, it should be pedestrian friendly, and it should be utilized not only by the people who live around it, but people throughout the community. I have tried to ride my bike there with my family, and it is a very arduous task to go on the grass and on and off and stuff like that. So I think this is a great improvement. And sometimes it's little as we build this out. We have a great history of having sidewalks in this community, and they usually make a whole lot of sense. We waive them when they don't. But this is something that kind of goes beyond, and it's the city's responsibility to put the sidewalk in this circumstance, and I think it's an appropriate one. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Awesome. Anything else from council? Anything from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And the item 11 carries 7-0. We're going to move on.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
motion to suspend the rules.
We got one more.
Oh, where?
We got item number 12, right? Or is, yes. No, you're throwing me off, you know?
Sorry.
Let me just take a time out here for a minute so I can get my.
Time out, sorry. Sorry,
Item
Mr.
number
Chair.
12 is an award of contract
It's a
comes,
late
yeah, I'm with, here. Have some of that. Item number 12, award of contract comes to us from the engineering division for the Lichet pump electrical service relocation from budgeted funds. Council?
Support, or sorry, motion.
Motion.
to
I guess
approve.
Support.
Or give it to
Something
Morgan.
like that.
Give it to Morgan on that, for fun. Mr. Zelinsik, you want to indulge us on this one?
I'll turn it over to my assistant city engineer, Dave Lear. He's been working
Oh,
with
yeah,
this
I didn't see it.
aspect on the landfill.
I love it.
Thanks. So basically with our landfill, we have a leachate pump in the bottom. The grading operations are getting to a point where the electrical service to it has to be relocated. So instead of trying to relocate a pole every 4 or 5 years, once we get close to the final grading, we're going to basically put it underground and not have to worry about it in the future. In order to do that, we've got a contract proposal with DTE Energy for $25,820.24, and a portion for RCI, our city's electrical contractor, for $41,2508 to do the final connections. In total, we're looking for approval for a contract amount of $29,945.32.
Thank you, Mr. Lear. We do have an approving on council. Do we have anything further for discussion? Anything from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And item 12 carries 7-0. Councilman Toy,
Motion to suspend the rules, Mr. Chair.
we got support?
Support.
We got support. Any further discussion from council? Anything from the audience? Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote on suspension of the rules?
Councilmember Budzinski.
Aye.
Councilmember Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Toy.
Aye.
Councilmember Jolly.
Aye.
Vice President Tashnik.
Aye.
Councilmember Donovic.
Aye.
President McCullough.
Aye. And the suspension of the rules passes 7-0. We're going to jump into X1 for our next item. Is a proposed amendment to the Livonia Code of Ordinances as amended, comes to us from the Department of Law, to amend Title II by adding Chapter 25, Capital Improvement. Council, do I have a first read?
I'll offer first read.
For sake of discussion, Mr. Carter, are you taking this one? Or would you just like to give us an overview on what we want to do here?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Janine Lott. You already know who I am.
What's your name again?
We're here to request a new department head position, the Director of Capital Improvement. We feel it needs to be at the level of a department head because, as you know, we have a lot of infrastructure and buildings that we want to maintain, and we want to see them not just continue in the same path, but continue to improve. We want someone who's going to enhance our infrastructure, and as the city grows, so do we need to grow our departments. I think that we currently utilize 21 department heads, and I know Livonia, we think of ourselves as a large, small town, but also we have to think of ourselves as a small city. So in looking to continue our growth trajectory, we're hoping that this position gets approved.
Sounds good, thank you. I'm going to go to Councilman Jolly, Vice President, and then the Councilman Toy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Leibel, what would be the desired skill set for this position?
The desired skill set is someone who has some experience with buildings, with infrastructure, with capital improvement plans and capital improvement projects, for someone who can look at it from a strategic standpoint, not just an administrative standpoint. We want someone that's going to see the big picture of all the different buildings and infrastructure we have and can go through it and make strategic decisions.
So does that mean, and just to clarify, and I'm just curious, honestly, does that mean potentially like somebody who has building experience as a builder, or does it mean somebody who potentially has civil engineering background or architecture background or planning or any of the above?
From an HR perspective, my answer is yes. I love all of those skill sets, and I think that all of those skill sets can be transferable into something that we're looking at. The job description that we put together looks for those things. It looks for someone who has a background in asset management, who can deliver projects on time, so they have a little bit of project management skills and backgrounds, that they have a strategic planning and strategic vision, that they can take a much higher view of some of the things that we'll have going on.
Yeah, so I think, what I would compare this to is, so at my day job at Lawrence Tech, we have a relatively small campus. It's like 90 acres. But we have 2 full-time campus architects who have their eye on the ball in regards to potential, building maintenance stuff to an extent, right, from an architecture perspective, but also kind of looking at the visioning and what's going to be happening anywhere on campus, kind of keeping an eye on that. So that's kind of, when I look at this, that's what I compare this to. So I think if I look at our relatively small campus versus the city, but also compare it to what we're looking at as a municipal campus, it kind of seems like it's spot on, right?
I like your comparison there.
So I'm okay with it at this point, but I'm interested to see what my colleagues say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Toy?
Toys, yeah. Thank you. If I may, to our director. Starting salary, what is that again? And then, is this a step kind of thing as well, right, or no?
Oh, yes, with every, I'd say every classification I'm aware of, we have steps for continued growth in their salary, The position we're looking for is to start at $119,621, and the top step would be $139,922.
So what step are they at? One? Because we got into the step issue a few, a few weeks ago, and I just want to make sure we're okay.
So typically, we start someone at step one. If
Right.
someone had a wealth of experience, we could petition to make it a higher step.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to just ask you another question.
Oh, good.
Did you want to continue? No? Okay, so they don't have any staff, right?
Currently, they don't, but I think if this position is going to be as strategic as I hope it will be, I do foresee that there will at some point have to be administrative staff as well.
Okay. And so we give them the title a director?
Yes.
And that elevates them a little bit more than, give me another example of a department head or?
Well, department head, I think, is where we're looking for the level of skills and experience.
Okay.
That's the kind of candidate we're looking to attract.
Okay.
I think that in the city, for a lot of our departments, we have someone who's a program supervisor, and they're able to run projects and, large chunks of our work. But for this position, we're looking for someone who has a little bit more experience, a little bit more strategic.
Perfect. And when do you hope to get them started here in our city?
As soon as you approve it? As soon as possible. I mean,
Okay.
Things do move slow.
All right.
I'm not even going to say that out loud about civil service. But we move slow on purpose because when we find someone, we want them to stay. So it takes a long time to find the right person. In the world of HR, I feel like people are laughing behind me about this.
No, they're not. We'd kick them out if they were, don't worry.
But,
only
it does take a long time to hire someone
Okay.
in the world of civil service, but it's because we try and find the right person in the
Sure.
right way in a fair process. So it is a little extra. long.
Okay, just checking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. So if I understand correctly, capital improvements, we're looking at someone who's going to be overseeing the maintenance, maybe renovations even, and of course, development of some of the new city facilities.
Yes.
And I know one of our biggest challenges has been making sure that our buildings are ADA compliant. But I don't see that listed in the job description at all. I was hoping maybe we could add something like
I love it.
certified in ADA. It doesn't, I'm not saying they have to even be a certified ADA coordinator per se, but someone who has got that certification. I don't know if that person's out there and we can find them, but that would be a great add.
I love that suggestion, so thank you. And I think I would put that they are certified or can become certified within a certain time period.
Yes, and that's kind of where I was going to go. If they're not certified, could we get them on that path?
Such a
Because I
great
think that would, with our population, I think that would go a long way, and especially if we're going to be renovating and building all these new projects. That was just the ad I would like, please.
I love it, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Councilman Donovic, and
Thank
then
you.
Councilwoman Budzinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our HR director for being here this evening. So from my perspective, it's normal for, I know Councilman Jolly mentioned it, it's normal for large real estate holding companies to have a director of capital improvement or a director of asset control and so on and so forth. So for such a large community, I know we look at ourselves as a city, but we are, in a sense, a real estate company in one way. We own all this real estate and we have to manage it. And for the residents at home, we do have people that change light bulbs, fix, basic everyday maintenance, but there needs to be someone in charge that puts together a comprehensive plan and looks at our buildings from that real estate perspective, that 10,000 foot view, that can manage these buildings and think about, how do we put together a capital asset plan on these buildings so we can plan these things out and we're not doing emergency expenditures where our floors are buckling or we have buildings that have kind of run their course. So I think it's important. I'm very worrisome of creating a new department head. In my personal opinion, I wish it would have been a deputy or fallen under one of the other departments. I don't like that we are growing, but that's the administration's prerogative wanting to add another department head. I will say for the record, I am not going to be in support of another position, creating some other auxiliary position underneath this director. There are 600 or so employees in our city. I'm sure we can find a vacancy somewhere in our city and update guidelines for some sort of support staff. I can, to your point, if this position is used as it should be, eventually, you know, they're going to need some support, just like our other department heads do. But don't bring it before me, because I don't think we need another position. We've had multiple positions created, and I can understand those positions. I've been supportive of those positions, but I think we need to be very careful moving forward. There's been multiple positions created, and there are positions in this community and the over City Hall structure we can find and fill that clerical or supportive role. But I think this is a good idea. I'll be in support of it, and council did ask for us to do something like this. So it's nice to see something get done. And my actual question is, when will we see this? I know we kind of already asked it earlier. You know, is there a plan? Do we already have someone in mind? I know we don't want to put you on the spot, but, you know, do you expect this new position will start in January, December? Any idea?
So it's currently, and I understand your point about not adding anything, and I appreciate that, your point understood. I think we've tried to put some feelers out into the community. We've met some really fantastic people, and I've tried to stay in touch, but knowing that it's a slow process, it's kind of hard to, you know, reel in the fish and then be like, hey, can you hang on for just 6 months? So I think that because it's already in the budget, we can move pretty quickly, and you know, as of December 1st, we'd be ready to fill it. So hopefully we'll move along pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Budzinski.
Yes, I just wanted to say I'm very excited about this position with the amendment for AD compliance. Facility maintenance is one of, you know, my biggest issues. You know, I'm excited about forward moving Vision 21, the new wellness center, but I think it's equally as important that we are paying attention to the buildings we already own and maintaining them. I think that this is a step in the right direction. I think it will save the city a lot of money. The example I use a lot are the chillers at the Civic Center Library, where we had to spend over $200,000 in a temporary chiller situation when we knew for many years that we were going to need a replacement, but action wasn't taken there. And it not a blame game, but it's just to say I'm excited that we're not going to see that repeat itself in the future. We'll have somebody in place to make multi-year plans so that we're in a better position and can also strategically plan improvements to where we can have cost savings across departments throughout the city. So I just wanted to thank the administration for listening to all of our concerns, but this was definitely one of my top priorities, and so thank you.
As a person who loves the library and our employees over there, I agree. It'd be good to see that be in good shape for everyone.
Anything else from council? We do have a first read. So obviously the next meeting we'd be looking at a roll call second read. Anything from the audience on this? I'll just touch base without having to formally pass the gavel that this is an awesome thing to be adding to our departments. As someone that does this for day-to-day operations, having someone, I always kind of laugh because in the facilities world, there's hands-on, which is the typical guy you'd see with a Synthes outfit sitting in a boiler room. And I tell you, it's a lot more technical than you look at. And it's a profession that is very needed, especially with the built environment and how much facilities can cost organizations and municipalities. So very cool.
Council President, we are hiring if you're interested.
No. And once you get the CIP plan, Debbie, maybe. No, I'm messing. It'll be a good position to keep someone busy. So, anything else? We already went to the audience, so I'm going to skip that. And with that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. I think I can safely show 7 to adjourn, unless you guys would like to formalize it. I'm going to say we'll close this at 8:40, and we'll come back here at 8:50 to start the study. Council, have anything else? Let me go to the audience because I'm like, the Red Bull is it's starting to wear off. Audience, any communication for items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none? See you in 10 minutes.